Hey everybody, thank you so much for joining the channel today. I hope you're doing well wherever you may find yourselves. Today is my 13th episode in my little mini series called Back to Back, the greatest album pairs of all time. And before we dive into today's band of choice, I will tell you we're staying in the United Kingdom here, across the pond as it were. Here are the qualifications yet again, if you're new to the channel or new to this mini series. What are the qualifications to be considered, in my estimation, the greatest album pairs of all time? One, they must be back-to-back in the discography. Two, they must complement one another or be what I consider companion albums. Same thing, really. Three, or rather four, the second one, chronologically speaking, must pick up where the previous one left off in some way, usually ways, more than one way. Could have been a double album. And finally, both of them must be seminal works. All right, so today's band is an interesting band because I first heard of them in 7th grade, and in 7th grade, we're talking, for me, 1980. The companion album to this comes out a year later, 1981, so I'm in 8th grade, not yet in high school, so I'm in grammar school, or as we call it sometimes down here, elementary school. And my friends and I would always compliment, being big Kiss fans, we would see this album cover, both of them, excuse me, in the record stores, and we would talk about, have you bought this yet? No. Have you bought this yet? No. And we were always thinking, well, and the reason why we didn't buy it is because we were wondering, has this band pulled a Jefferson Airplane? And what I mean by that is, did they change their name? So I'm talking about Iron Maiden, because we wondered, is this Iron Butterfly in a new incarnation? Did they, update their name? Like, no, it's a totally different band. Excuse me. So today is Iron Maiden. I'm, of course, talking about the opening album, the debut Iron Maiden, and then Killers, the sequel, if you will, the sophomore effort. And right off the bat, the album cover tells you what's contained a little bit. You're going to have some things that are not going to please mom and dad. And the opening, or rather the debut album cover, lets you know that there's going to be a little bit of a punk sensibility here, hence the hairstyle. And then here, perhaps more metal because of different hairstyle, right? Punk hairstyle, heavy metal hairstyle. This is still metal, but has some punk sensibilities, as I said. So let's jump into Iron Maiden. Again, 1980. And here you have Dennis Stratton on guitar before Adrian Smith jumps in for the second album. So the opening song is Prowler. This song has a hard punk ethos or sensibility to it. It's essentially a punk metal song, if you ask me. You have the great twin guitars here. Di'Anno's voice, I just love. Probably one of my favorite Di'Anno-led songs here of the two albums that he's on. At the 1 minute and 30-second mark, you get a shift to very different guitar stylings, but the riff, or the riffage, if that's a word, is different, but yet interesting. And you have a phenomenal solo here. I love the song. A great introductory song to Iron Maiden. Sanctuary comes next, and you have themes or storylines of running from the law. Like the previous song, you have a punk quality to it. Not totally, but in some ways. But when the solo kicks in, it's all heavy metal from here on out. The bass is superb. I love the song. This song does not get old for me. Next is the fabulous Remember Tomorrow. All rock and roll here. I don't see any punk here or hear any punk here. You have the slow, dreamy, quasi-psychedelic intro. Then Di'Anno's soft-spoken skills here are just fabulous. It's nice to hear Di'Anno sing in this register, as well as the high metal and then the more growly punk metal phrasing that he does. I love this soft-spoken stuff from him. It gets heavier at the 1 minute mark. The riffs and chords are the riffs and guitar chords are stellar. Then you get back to that moody, dreamy bit from the beginning, that psychedelic kind of sounding piece. Overall, there's this back and forth between light and shade. At the 3 minute mark, the guitars go into overdrive. You have this wonderful twin guitar solo going on here, the galloping that we know and love that Iron Maiden does. And then it's back to the the soft for a bit, and then ending with the heavy, and then the song's over. Just a fabulous song. I love it. Next is the answer to Judas Priest's Running Wild, maybe, and that is Running Free. Wonderful bass intro. Has a 50s or 60s theme or vibe to it because of some of the lyrics. I think of The Outsiders, the novel that I teach my sophomores about the greasers and the socias, right? Because of lyrics like pickup truck, jail, police sirens, but more importantly, when Di'Anno sings about the bottle top, which is a whiskey dancing disco hop. So it has a 50s and 60s vibe to it, right? Anyway, the next is I love the song, by the way. Next is the Phantom of the Opera, one of the highlights of their career, if you ask me. This is definitely in my top 3 of Iron Maiden songs, maybe top 2. For me, it's that great. This is the beginning of Iron Maiden's interest in horror movies, as we see through much of their earlier career, the first third of their discography, if you will. It's a great headbanging song. You can sing along to it too. And what's great also about the songs is so many shifts or time signature changes. Is this prog metal? Perhaps. It's very proggy in that sense, right? Is it enough to make it prog? You decide. At the 2-minute mark, you hear Di'Anno belt, or sing rather, keep your distance, walk away, don't, right? It's great harmony sort of thing. And then, the cat, sorry. Then you get this bluesy tone, the Iron Maiden way, right? That we know and love. That's so hard to describe from Murray and Smith's on this, as I said. I love it. And then you get the bass solo, which is just dynamite. And then you have the guitar riding on the heels of that bass. But what's great is then there's this shift where the bass takes a back seat and now it's riding on the heels of the guitar. So the guitar comes in the front and the bass is not riding. So at first you have, after the bluesy bit, the bass solo comes in, as I said, and you have the guitar riding on its heels, but then the guitar takes center stage and now the bass is riding on its heels. Really nice shift, a nice little irony here, if you will. And then you get another shift to a slow gallop and then a twin guitar harmony as well, and then another solo. Not Smith, I'm sorry, Dennis Stratton, excuse me. Smith's not on this album, it's Stratton. I'm jumping ahead to the next album. So Dennis Stratton, I think, is the second solo on this piece, and Murray's the first one. And then you get after the gallop, you get some heavy riffing, and then the vocals return. And then you get the ending of the miraculous ending, or the wonderful ending of haunt me, you taunt me, you torture me back at your lair, and it's over. It's just a fabulous song. I love the live version as well. What a great song. And then just when you think that you have time to catch your breath after this very amazing long piece of music, nope, there's no pause really. You're right into Transylvania. You get this heavy riff intro, that iconic heavy riff intro, right? And you have this nice, these two songs are a nice 1-2 punch, back to back, Transylvania and Phantom of the Opera. And the first solo is just remarkable. It's 2 minutes in. And then the second solo, Dennis Stratton. I think it's Murray first and Dennis Stratton on this album. When it comes to the solos, don't quote me on that, but from my ears, I think that's what's going on. Murray has more of that train whistle, high pitched sound to his, think Flight of Icarus, right? And Dennis is more of that bluesy metal thing, at least if I'm getting it right. So the second solo is the Stratton solo, I believe, heavy metal blues-like, and then you get this amazing bass underneath from Harris, which is just a joy to listen to every time. It's just a phenomenal track, and this segues into Strange World, depending on which version of the album you get, because they did some changes. Depending on which version you get, they take some things out of Phantom of the Opera, and then they move one part of Strange World into Transylvania. It's bizarre, but anyway. Then you get Strange World, as I said. You get this dreamy guitar notes with accompanying bass. Just under 2 minutes, you get the vocals. Paul Di'Anno, soft-spoken, ballady type vocals here. And then you get this subtle yet blistering solo that follows with accompanying drum sounds. Dreamy sounds. And then overall, this is just a nice gem, if you ask me, Strange World. Next is Charlotte the Harlot, least favorite song. The bass is great, though. The phrasing from Paul is cool, too. You have the punk-like vocals, of course. And then you have some dreamy, quality-like bits from the previous song. Then you get the more heavy guitar that we expect from Iron Maiden, that shredding, that serious shredding, and this is the best part of the song. But again, it's my least favorite. Finally, you get the name of the band song, the title track, Iron Maiden. Twin guitar, harmony, fabulous. Bass is phenomenal. You have a nice chorus. Foreshadows, the tone of the guitar here foreshadows to me Run to the Hills a little bit on the next album. And the bass solo at the 2:10 mark, brief, is quite good. And then you get essentially what you have here, rather, is a great galloping type song from Iron Maiden that we come to know and love, right? So Killers now, 1981. I'm in 8th grade. You get this instrumental Ides of March. You get drum fills with bluesy guitar that are slightly haunting to open the piece. And then you get a solo early on. It's a short piece. It's like a minute and change. And then after that solo, you get this marching type or style drum beat. Essentially, it's an intro for the next song, which of course is the wonderful Wrathchild. Great bass intro, though brief. I wish it was a little longer. Heavy guitar, punk metal, question mark, perhaps. Great chorus. And the best part is, even though it's brief at times, when Di'Anno's voice soars really high. Next is Murders in the Rue Morgue. Slow intro with respect to the guitar and bass and drums, so it's kind of slow. And then you get the slightly chilling guitar piece. Of course, the song is from an Edgar Allan Poe short story, so it's going to have that chilling factor, right? From the guitar tone is going to reflect that chilling hauntingness, right? And then when the drums kick in, it's so heavy. It's very punk metal, if you ask me. Di'Anno is singing fast when he's not singing the chorus, which is more slower based. It's a good song, but not great. I do like it. Next is Another Life. Murray's opening guitar here is just dynamite. It's an okay song, not great, but I love that opening guitar here. It's a heavy rocker, and what's interesting is, at least to my ears, I can imagine Molly Hatchet doing the song. The guitar tones from Stratton and Murray have especially Stratton has a Molly Hatchet feel to it. All right. Excuse me. All right. Next song is Genghis Khan. This is also an instrumental, longer than the opening Ides of March. This is interesting because this is perhaps, of the two albums that are pairs, perhaps the one song that doesn't go with the previous album, because you have this, you have this clunky sounding rhythm from the guitars and bass. It's odd, but I do like it. It's interesting. It's different. So Iron Maiden doing something a little different from what we expect so far, even though it's early in their career. It's kind of a certain organized chaos to it. Heavy metal jazz, if you will. All the notes seem to be playing at the same time, as you know from jazz. And then it slows down at the 2-minute mark. And then you get the Iron Maiden guitar tone that you know and love, that we know and love, that Murray quasi train whistle sound, that high train whistle sound that he makes his guitar sound like. It's hard, that's not the perfect description, but that's the best I can do, but it's kind of like that. And then it slows down and it winds to the end. It's just a great song, despite the fact that it's an odd sounding song. Very clunky at times, right? And then you get Innocent Exile. Great bass intro, although again, too brief. The guitar kicks in almost immediately. The guitar tone at times also has a Molly Hatchet feel to it. Again, I can imagine Molly Hatchet doing the song. The vocals, of course, would be more gruff and different, but Paul's voice can be gruff at times. It's just a different feel. But then you get the solo at the 2-minute 40-second mark, and from here on out, it's the best part of the song. From that part forward, it's just fabulous. I'm very fond of this song. I have some friends who are Iron Maiden fans, but they don't care for this or Genghis Khan, but I do like it. All right, next is Killers. And the bass opening, we have a bass opening once again. I like it. Di'Anno singing Yeah The way he sings it is very cliched, and yet it's so wonderful at the same time, if that makes sense. Like the previous song, Innocent Exile and Killers, the best part of these two songs is just amazing guitar here. All right, next, Prodigal Son. I don't like the opening. There's something about it that sounds familiar. It's in my head, but I can't put my finger on it. It sounds exactly like something of another song that I know. That acoustic. It's gonna pop in my head when I'm trying to sleep tonight, right? It's got a slower folkiness to it. It's hard rock, and yet it has that folkiness to it. It's odd, but surprisingly good in some ways, except for the beginning. So overall, I like it because of that slower, folky, hard rock sound, but just the opening bits I don't care for. There's a great bluesy solo at 3 minutes and 30-second-ish mark, and it's choice, let me tell you. Wow. I think that's Stratton. No, I'm sorry. I'm on the second album. Sorry, talking about Killers. So it's definitely Smith, I'm pretty sure. Sorry, I keep flip-flopping the two guitarists. And then it opens, after that solo from, I believe it's Adrian, it returns to the opening sound that from the beginning, which is, again, I'm not a big fan of it. But overall, the song is a quasi-ballad. I like it, but I don't think it's fantastic. So anyway, there are parts of it I love, there are parts of it I don't like. So anyway, so Prodigal Son. Next is Purgatory. You have that it's galloping thing that Iron Maiden does so well that we love. It's fantastic. Has a punk feel to it at times because of the vocals. The phrasing is very punk-like until Paul sings in that high register, right? It's brief, but it's cool. That's very metal, of course. And you have the lyrics, please take me away, so far away, about escape. This is a good song. This is a very good song. Next, you get Twilight Zone. I like this song quite a bit. Has a Thin Lizzy feel to it. I don't know if that was on purpose to it. Is this an homage to Thin Lizzy? I think so. I could be wrong. A guitar sounds like Thin Lizzy, and even at times Paul Di'Anno, while he doesn't sound like Phil Lynott, his phrasing does here. Anyway, I love the song. I like it quite a bit. And then you get the wonderful Drifter. Great way to end the album. Di'Anno's soaring vocals in brief moments, again, only brief moments, is just amazing. Wish there was a little bit more of that. I love that high register from him. I like his vocals, regardless whether it's mid, high, or soft. Bass is phenomenal here. The solo at the 3-minute mark, wow, just fantastic. Maybe the best of all time. Maybe top 5, top 10, definitely. And at the end of the song, you can hear Di'Anno's out of breath, whether by design or just how it's recorded, because it's natural. Or he's faking it because it's part of the mood of the song, that acting to get a certain effect. Doesn't matter. He's out of breath, and so am I, listening in a good way. I've talked about this before with the debut album from Dio, Holy Diver. By the time you finish the last track, you're mentally out of breath, not necessarily physically, but here, this is a long album, even though it may not be, if that makes sense. I don't know the total time, but to me, and it's a good thing because it's money well spent, it's time well spent. But by the time the song is over, you're like, man, I need a break from music. I'm exhausted. I'm full, right? It's just a great feeling. So I'm out of breath mentally when I'm done with this album. And of the two, I all the time I switch back and forth. Which of the two I like better? This one is amazing in so many ways, but I love this one more, just a tad bit more. Anyway, thanks for watching. Take care now. Bye.